We're going to start with this one. This is the reveal. This is the big reveal. Big game. Huge game. One of the biggest games. A bit of a bias. Bungie fan. Played a lot of Halo back in the day. Is that on the moon? Uh-oh. That was cool. I like that. That's cool.
I met a traveler from an antique land who said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that it sought to well those passions red which yet survive. Stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, lifeless things. And the heart that fed.
I think the character design is pretty weak. I actually think that the world building and like the atmosphere of the game is really good. But like, I'm making a lot of comparisons in my head right now with like this and the Death Stranding 2 trailer. And like, it's really hard to be as good as Kojima. But like, outside of this character design, I think that it at least reminded me of that. But these characters just look like toys. The design isn't... It doesn't have any edge to it. I just don't like it. I wouldn't make a decision on the game for that reason, but that's just my opinion. Like, this is like, it's okay, right? But like, if you go and you compare this to like the level of quality of the Kojima characters inside of Death Stranding 2, you just really, you're looking at two different types of situations. And I think that like a character's being aesthetic and looking good is a prime value. You need that. You have to have that. And this is just not really there. They look too clean. They do. And like, so let me get a bit farther before I start going on tangents.
Welcome once again. Once again. Answer you shall.
Like, this is okay. I think this is a decent design.
I mean, it feels just like what it is, right? Like $1 trillion. Like $1 trillion.
Sakaguchi Genetics sent a reminder. Your shell repayment is coming up and will be charged
Because
against
like, you can see, like, I mean, you've clearly got like a convergence here between like, you know, again, like the Kojima Death Stranding aesthetic and like Cyberpunk. You know, I mean, you look at like this is kind of like Lucy from Cyberpunk and like the anime. But I'm just not... am I crazy? I just don't think it has that edge to it.
your line of credit.
Yeah, I know. Do you mind if we skip the formalities this time? Got a big contract waiting down there, so.
Understood. Let's proceed with your grounding exercise. Are you familiar with this item?
That's my lucky charm. Yeah. It's supposed to be my lucky charm.
Can you identify her?
Yeah, that's my mom. That's your mother. Your mother.
Now,
You know
consider
that's your mom.
this. Do you recognize this child?
Is that her?
Who are you? I don't know.
It's you.
What? Really?
I think that that sequence is like a good example of when show don't tell would have been probably a better way to demonstrate like what that was. I think that if there was like almost no dialogue there, it would have been a lot better. I think that in a lot of cases, like that's true, is that less dialogue is better.
Hey, what's that you're always tuned into? Worth anything?
I don't know, but I like it. It speaks to me.
Let me listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that there's like a degree of like a style clash where you have like, you know, Unreal 5 hyper realistic backgrounds with like these cartoonish, almost Fortnite style objects and characters. It's not a big deal, right? Like, I'm just kind of talking about it.
You ever wonder what happened to these people?
It's not my business.
And this music is. You'll have a tough time finding a buyer.
Good. It's not for sale. Give it to me.
It's an extraction shooter, by the way.
look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remain. Round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless alone and level sands stretch far away.
Do you recognize this child?
I don't know. Is that me?
Man. I think that a lot of the negative sentiment for this is that this should have been an 11. It's a 7. It's a 7 or an 8. But this should have been an 11. Because, like, I can see, like, inside of this that, like, if you gave this to a person that was, like, in my opinion, a little bit more deranged or creative, I actually think this trailer would have been fucking phenomenal. This trailer felt like it was an advertisement for a Kojima game, but it didn't have Kojima. That's the way that I feel about it. And, like, it's almost really, really good. Like, I think that, like, the aesthetic and, like, the vibe of it, it's really interesting because, like, especially at the beginning of this was really, really good. Like, I really like this a lot. And then as soon as they started introducing the characters, it just, I felt like it turned from something that had, like, a certain degree of, like gripping interest. And it just turned, like, kind of weird. Character design's horrible. Yeah, and cool trailer, but it felt hollow. Yeah, it did. And so, I mean, I'm not as negative about the trailer as a lot of other people are, but I can see why people are so negative. And there's something that's, like, very uncanny about the characters, and it makes it look like they aren't really kind of supposed to be there. And it's hard for me to describe, I think. But yeah, looks plastic. Yeah, but, like, I'd want to say something more than that, right? So people are negative because it's the cool thing to do. Nothing is okay in this world anymore. The art direction's not cohesive. It clashes and it doesn't pass the vibe check. I mean, I guess, like, I mean, yeah, I definitely think, like, which is weird because, like, am I the only person who thought that, like the first, like, 2 minutes of this trailer was absolute cinema, in my opinion. Like, this was, like, fucking amazing. This was so good. And I really liked it a lot. And then it just kind of got weird with these characters. Yeah, no, I mean, that's it. And there's a lot of people who haven't really liked the character design. Marilyn Manson vibes are putting me off, not interesting. I can see why you say they stand out, but in the way the Polygon character in Resident Evil stood out. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing we play as the newly produced bots. The woman interview robot does it to check if the bot is stable. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I think that there's definitely a lot of, like, I mean, overall, like, after watching this trailer, would I be encouraged to buy this game? The answer, if you want me to be honest, is yes. Yes, I think that this is good enough that I would probably buy the game based off of this. Now, and also, like, I have pretty low standards for games, and I'd pretty much try it out, see what it's like. That's kind of the mindset that I usually have. Try it out, see what it's like, and if it sucks, I stop playing it. But I think that for people that have like a lot less free time than I do, and maybe even also disposable income because it'll cost money, the game will cost money, like $40 or something like that, then I think that they're going to exercise more discretion than I will. It's artsy though. Well, like the thing is that it's artsy, but it's artsy in a way that I think is indulgent and it's not exciting. Like, again, if you compare this, I think it's a great way to look at this is to compare it is like this trailer here, right? Like, I feel like this, like these two have like very much the same energy. And maybe I'm crazy, but like I think so. And you can see like with a character like this, for example, there's something about this that's like more compelling and interesting. Just in terms of the design. And I'm not talking about like the graphics quality, but like it's just more compelling and interesting. A lot of the character design, actually, this is a good way for me to put it. Some of the character design in this game, it reminds me a lot of when you first get Photoshop and you apply every single like filter to text to make it look as cool as possible, but then you realize it's like hard to read and see what's going on with it. Does that make sense? Like you guys did this whenever you were kids, right? Yeah. It's over design. That's their goal. Well, if that's their goal, they succeeded. And so anyway, that's basically it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the gameplay trailer.
Marathon is a team-based extraction shooter set around the mysterious and cutthroat world of Tau Ceti 4. You are a runner, a cybernetic mercenary who's given up their human form for a biosynthetic shell with unique abilities and stats, capable of both tactical and fast-paced combat. Here you'll fight in a crew of up to 3 players across a variety of zones and points of interest. You'll face rival runners in zones of up to 18 players, countless security forces, and otherworldly threats.
This is okay.
To scavenge the remains of a lost colony for glory and fortune. The environments of Tau Ceti 4 are filled with weapons, materials, and equipment you can scavenge throughout
It's the
the
same
map.
as any of these games.
Before deploying, you'll strategically build your loadout and select a runner to ensure you're equipped for the run ahead. Your objective is
So your runner, so this is also class-based, by the way. So like the characters are like, it's like, I don't know like how much of a class-based it is, but yeah, it's Apex. Yeah, I think it's seemingly kind of like Apex, yeah.
Get in,
Archetypes,
gather as
yeah.
much loot as you can, and make it out alive. Die, and all your gear will be up for grabs. Survive, and your loot can be taken into future runs as you grow in power and fill your vault. Death is inevitable, but it's never the end. Think quickly on your feet and outplay your opponents, and in your next run, you and your teammates will be the ones coming out on top. And even if you're down on your luck, factions can sponsor you with a fresh loadout, so you can get right back into the fight.
That's cool. I like that.
Bungie brings its best-in-class first-person multiplayer action to the forefront. Dynamic and tactile gunplay, runners with unique playstyles, and customizable builds create highly dynamic and strategic team fights. Whether you're on a zero-to-hero run or high-rolling with powerful gear, you'll need to use your best judgment when you decide which fights to pick and how. Because no matter how geared you are, players with skill and strategy will always have the edge. Marathon is designed to be played in crews, with contextual pings, shared objectives, and down but not out to streamline playing with your friends.
I'm not
Death
sure if making people play in a group is a good thing.
is not the end. And if you're the last one standing, you can overcome the odds to revive your teammates and get out with your hard-earned loot. And if you believe your skills alone are enough to conquer any challenge, we give you the freedom to opt out of crew fill to take all the glory for yourself. As
Yeah,
a
this game is
solo
darker and
runner.
darker.
No two runs in Marathon ever play out the same. With dynamic events, variable weather, and unpredictable players, you'll have to adapt on the fly if you want to survive. Each run has a time limit, and anything can happen while you're chasing your objective. Looking to unlock upgrades or increase your faction reputation? Slip into the shadows as Void and ghost past your enemies. Search the map for rare materials and profit opportunities without being discovered. Want to push enemy teams and steal their loot? Bring in Glitch with agility implants and your strongest weapons.
That's kinda cool.
To disrupt rival crews. Running support for your friends? Grab extra equipment, shield charges, and a specialized backpack to be the lifeline they need. You're always free to experiment with team compositions, and the only limit to how you want to play your runner is your loot and
His
imagination.
name's John Marathon.
Endgame challenges, ranked play, discovering secrets, seasonal storytelling, community events, and more all await you in Season 1, where you and your friends will start to unravel the mysteries of Tau Ceti 4. Remember, you're only ever one run away from your next big score.
All right, we got one more. Let's take a look at it. All right, this is a gameplay reveal. Let's watch this one. This one got really bad ratings. Here we go. Now, Marathon was their old game. They made it for the Mac back in the 90s. A lot of people probably don't know that. It was a real long time ago. It was before they made Halo.
Death,
It's kind of cool.
the end of all things. But the dream is not over. My dream. Yours. Now.
This is, I like that. That's cool. That was cool too. I think what really matters the most, and this is what. I'll just let it finish. Gotcha, bitch. So, thoughts on the game, opinions, etc. What do I think? I'm gonna just play when while I talk about it. Actually, you know what? I think it was there was a video of like Shroud talking about it. I'll listen to what he says too, because he's like, you know, the guy, right?
This is the epitome of what happens every single time. You come in, whether you're a AAA dev or an indie or whatever,
yeah.
You try to come into an extraction game and you try to make it and you try to remove the friction. There's a lot of friction.
He's going to say that the friction is what makes the game interesting.
In a game like Tarkov, there's a lot of like,
and by removing it, it's going to be an empty experience, I bet.
That might not want you to open up the game ever.
Yeah.
hundreds of bullet types, thousands of individual items, quests that don't tell you at all where to go.
Yeah.
No map. I mean, the weapon attachment system is like, what am I doing? Right? So much friction. There's so much friction to play Tarkov. Most people don't even open that game. But that friction is what makes the game so popular to its core audience. So it's weird.
Path of Exile has the same situation.
Come in, you're a new dev or a AAA dev, whatever, and you want to remove the friction? Great. You remove the friction, the game is smooth, the game's easy to play, anyone could just click play and just be right in it. But they only play for a couple weeks or a month, and then they're like, well, there's nothing left to learn. Well, yeah, that's because you just removed all the friction. All the friction's gone, all the tooltips. Like, for example, a perfect example is this, yeah? On this screen, you see every single item and its value.
Yeah.
You don't learn the value as a player. You instantly are told what it's worth.
He's right about this. Is that that's like a vector of difficulty that the player then achieves that's taken away from them when there are values assigned. He's right.
Is a developer coming in and saying, we're going to remove the friction and remove the complications of like the complexity of like seeing an item and being like, what is this? We're just going to tell you what it is. It's worth $1,000. That's it.
Yeah.
Great if you're playing the game for the first time. Bad if you're playing the game for
50th time.
The 1,000th time.
Yeah.
Because what makes extraction shooters good and interesting
They're dynamic.
is giving that player the knowledge, the tools to like learn the game themselves, figure out what a pack of cigarettes is for. And I know it's really stupid, and nobody thinks like that. Most people.
No, the most patrician game developers understand and respect this. That's why you look at like the way that Miyazaki designs games like Elden Ring and the way that Classic WoW was designed is that it's designed with these things in mind. And there's like an element of good friction and bad friction. And one of the best examples of the best examples of like this being bad is like retail WoW, especially during like the Legion BFA era, where developers knew that friction was needed in order to create a good experience, but they couldn't intuit what that friction was and why it was valuable. Bad friction equals world quests. Now, what makes extraction shooters fun is absolutely murking fools and the stress of getting out with your loot. Yeah, but there's like different game knowledge, player knowledge, and everything. And this is something that's like, this might sound weird, but bear with me for a minute. Making knowledge more of a component of the game makes it easier for hardcore players to maintain relevancy without having to have like Twitch reactions and keep up with the skill cap of the game. Because like a good player can still outmaneuver a better player if they have high game knowledge.
People are like, just tell me what the pack of cigarettes are for, man. Mm-hmm. But what's fun about extraction shooters is when they don't tell you.
Yeah, I think also like making everything kind of a mystery that's discovered is very important. And I kind of completely agree with Shroud here. And I think that in general, the gameplay for this seems okay, right? I mean, like, I think that really what's going to define this game as being good or not isn't anything that we can really see and observe right now in the trailers. I think that like you're really going to have to play this game and see how the different missions are, because a big problem that a lot of like BRs and games have is that after you do a few runs, it feels like every single run is the same. And like the game that really does the best job at fighting against this is Fortnite. Fortnite does an incredible job at always reinventing itself and creating new metas and new ways of playing the game. And I think that if you compare that with other games, like, for example, Warzone or even PUBG to a lesser extent, the meta for the game is pretty much discovered, and the way of playing optimally is pretty much discovered quickly, and then it's kind of over. And I think that's really what the problem is. Watch the cinematic. Oh, I already saw the cinematic, exactly. And Fortnite removed friction in BRs. Well, Fortnite removed certain types of friction in BRs, but it added other friction. So, like, it removed the friction of finding weapon attachments, but it added the friction of building. So, like, there was like no net change. And if anything, Fortnite has more friction because of the different, like, difficulties, right? But I think that really a game like PUBG, the reason why PUBG was really popular too, is because you could be kind of mediocre at the game, but you could still come out ahead if you knew what you were doing. And I think that's really the difference that a lot of these games don't really have now, is that they don't have ways. A lot of these games kind of get caught by like sweat entropy, where you have people that start playing the game really seriously. And because they're playing it so seriously, they completely dominate lobbies. And when they're dominating these lobbies, average players can't come into the game and succeed or do anything. And so that's really, I think, where the big problems are, is that, like, you need to have games that find ways to overcome that skill entropy. And I don't think that skill-based matchmaking is the solution to that. I think it's one tool that you can use. But the problem still remains, is that when somebody gets outplayed on like such a massive level, especially whenever there's like different like levels of complexity like Fortnite, people like that get discouraged and they lose interest. And so I think really we're going to have to play this game and see kind of like what the use case for the game actually is, rather than just kind of writing it off. Because I feel like Dark and Darker is a really great example of this, is that I don't know if I ever told people this. I know it's Tips did, is that we actually declined Dark and Darker for the OTK Games Expo, the first one that we did, because we thought the game was garbage. And there are a lot of games that look like garbage, but they're actually really fun to play. And there's also the opposite of games that look amazing, but they play like garbage. For real, yeah, big mistake there, right? But my point is that it happens very often. And I'm very, very concerned about this. I am worried that, they're not really going to understand what makes this genre interesting. And again, like, I'm speaking kind of as an outsider for this, because like I'm not like a really big extraction shooter guy. I generally don't like games where you can make negative progress. It's just demotivating for me, just personally. But in a general sense, this is the way that I feel about it. You missed a gameplay video, watch the raw footage. Oh yeah, well anyway, I can look at least a little bit of the raw footage. Like, I don't want to go through like everything, but we can go ahead and at least look at some of it, right? And so, yeah, this is just some of the gameplay here, right?
Hostile action.
And so, game subjects, alpha states, and the change. Yeah, not really a big surprise. These are the different characters that you're playing, right?
Everything is breakable. So let's break it.
Yeah, it does feel like they basically turned... Like, they've made it very much into Void looks badass. I don't think that any of the characters are really that interesting or cool. Like, honestly, if I look at this... Oh, it doesn't work with this. If I look at this right here, what game do you think this reminds me of? We all know. It's Concord, right? This is some Concord level design. It is. Sorry, but that's the truth. Is this game gonna be the next really big game? I think if it's designed in like a really good way, it could be really popular, but it's not like crazy amazing. It just seems like kind of okay, right? The game isn't free to play, it's doomed. Yeah, and this is another component to it, is that, and if I look up Marathon, here we go. Marathon is Alpha's application, completely unnecessary gender identity question. It doesn't matter, male or female. So we'll look at some of the people and like what people have been talking about with the game, because obviously that matters a lot too. And so anyway, you've had a lot of people that have been pretty negative about it, right? This is beautiful, this is not. I mean, again, making characters that look really weird like this, I do think it's over-designed in a way that doesn't really appeal to anyone. I do, right? It's kind of hot. Yeah, I don't know about that. Really kind of depends. But like in a general sense, I think that Western game developers, and this is just like a huge problem, Western game developers are like almost afraid to make conventionally attractive female characters. And so they make these characters that have like kind of like a very like, this is like a rave girl personality or some other variation of that. And they're not just using a traditional, you know, you take a hot girl with decent proportions with a pretty face and just go with that, right? And so, right, it's very androgynous. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the female characters that are made in like Western development studios do have like an androgynous vibe to it. And I find it to be kind of off-putting. And I think it's like, it's really a big shock when you see it compared to like something like Marvel Rivals, because I think Marvel Rivals, the style quality and everything is just a lot better. Like this is okay, but I just don't really see this being, I don't see this being appealing. Right? Like, I mean, it just isn't like, I don't see people wanting to cosplay these characters. I don't see people like really being that interested in them at all. They don't have like a, they're not compelling in a way. So yeah, I mean, I think that's like, that's the main thing that I usually go by is like, are the people like, will people cosplay these characters? Maybe this one a little bit, but probably not even that. And so some of the other armored characters are pretty decent, and you see like a lot of comparisons of this as well. But yeah, just I just, yeah, if you want a hot girl, just make one. Yeah, it's just not. It's a little bit weird, right? And people will cosplay Concord characters as a joke. She looks like Yolandi Visor, the one in Die Antwoord, I think. I think it's the band. If I'm thinking of the person you're thinking of. But yeah, that's. I mean, I can see why you say that for sure. But and John Concord, yeah, exactly right. But just okay. Anyway, so in general, I think that the character design is, again, I can definitely see why people are comparing it to Concord. It's very, it's like, it's weird in a way. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, it's like, I don't know why, like, American game studios have such like, I think the reason why, and, like, maybe this is just, like, me, like, you know, every problem looks like a nail, but, like, I think the reason why is because they don't want to push traditional beauty standards with games, and so they try to create these, like, weird androgynous characters that are still compelling, and I just think that doesn't land with a lot of people. It doesn't land with people, it doesn't resonate with anyone, and I think it's weird. There's no grit to it. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, if you, like, in my opinion, like, there are some exceptions, but I think that as a general rule, if you can't tell what gender a character is, you've made a mistake. You've made a mistake. It's nobody wants to see that. People are not interested in that. Like, yeah, you should have some femboys and some some, you know, like femboys and tom girls. Like, yeah, for sure, a little bit. But in a general sense, it's just not something people are very interested in. They're bots. Well, I'm not really saying about the bots. Well, what about yourself? There are no gender? No, people identify and they're going, like, these characters are absolutely gendered characters. And this is the problem, is like, if you, the fact that you think that there's even a discussion about that shows that there's a big problem. These are absolutely gendered characters, and everybody is going to play it with that mindset, like, in the front of their mind. And so if you don't do that, yeah, 2B's an android, but people can tell what gender she is. Yeah, exactly, right? And so, again, I just think that if you make characters like this, they're going to be very unappealing, and people aren't going to really resonate with them at all, and it's off-putting. And I think that's another really big component to it that a lot of people might not understand, is that when somebody sees a character design that looks weird, like this, for example, I think this is like kind of fine, but like in general, if they see a character design that looks weird, they won't want to play the game. That's it. They're just not going to be interested in the game because it looks weird. And so, okay, screw it. Yeah, exactly. And again, like, I think that pretty much every single circumstance, it's always a bad idea to make characters that are not conventionally attractive. Because this is, again, this is a shooter game, and shooter games are going to be primarily played by men. So if you're making a shooter game that's primarily made for men, then you should make sure that all of the female characters in the game are fuckable. And I know this might sound crazy to say, but I'm just going to say it. That's what you should do. That's what you should do, because that's what people want to do. That's what girls will cosplay. Girls don't want to cosplay ugly, weird-looking, androgynous, creepy characters. And all of that, like, think about how much advertising Marvel Rivals gets because of how many girls try to cosplay the characters. The girl character in the cinematic is fuckable, though? Yeah, but she could be more fuckable, and that she should have been. And I think that they really missed the opportunity to do that. And everybody thinks that, like, and the reason why I say this is because, like, I'm already assumed to be the king of the incels, right? And so I feel like I can say this and nobody's surprised. The fact is that I'm right. I'm right, even if you don't want me to be right, even if you think that I shouldn't be right, even if you think that this is the wrong way of looking at things. I can tell you time and time again, example and example again, every single time this turns out to be true. And if you're making a game and you want it to sell, you need to follow these principles. And if you don't, you are setting yourself at a disadvantage. And if you want to set yourself at a disadvantage, that's your right to do that. But at the same time, you're setting yourself at a disadvantage. You're half right. Why would anyone want a fuckable character? I just want hot characters to look at and not one to simp after. I think that having a character that's fuckable is one way of saying it, but a better way of saying it is having a character that you feel is visually appealing and visually enticing. And so really the overlap there is almost a circle in terms of a Venn diagram, but the fundamental thing is the same. And so that's really about what it is. It's about being visually enticing or visually appealing. Like Death Stranding 2, some of the characters, like that weird guy with the guitar, he wasn't really fuckable in a way, but I guarantee you there are girls typing on Twitter, oh, I like him, like he's cool, right? Because like even characters that look weird have to have a certain type of positive visual appeal. And I think that that's what no, I'm telling you, I guarantee you that people are saying that for sure. And so anyway, yeah, the fuck you on? I'm on reality. I'm on reality. And I think there's a reason why so many people are responding this way. I am. And you can be mad. People over and over have gotten mad at me for saying stuff like this. But every single time I've been proven to be right. Every single time. But anyway, again, all of this will be secondary to the game being good. Right? Like if the game plays well, it will be able to overcome any visual problems or anything like that. So we'll have to wait and see. Any demos or anything like that for this game, I will absolutely play. So we'll just have to wait and see when it actually comes out, right?